It is Thursday, February 10th, and this is our Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting. My name is Myrna Molina. I'll be chairing today's meeting. First item on our agenda is roll call.
Davis. Brown.
Brown here.
Gums.
Davis here.
Thank you. Gums.
Gums here.
Leonard.
I figured the mute button.
Sanchez.
Sanchez here.
Sheffro.
Sheffro present.
Irog. Molina.
Molina present. All right, we
Quorum.
have a quorum. Next item on our agenda is an approval of minutes. I'm asking to approve minutes from the November 19th, 2021 and the December 16th, 2021 meeting. Our January meetings are not ready yet. May I have a motion and a second to approve?
Sheffro moves.
Gums
Brown
will
seconds.
second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Shepro, second by Mr. Brown. Any opposed? Okay, I'll ask for roll call.
Brown.
Brown, yes.
Gums.
Gums, yes.
Leonard. Sanchez.
Sanchez, yes.
Sheffro.
Sheffro, yes.
Davis.
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Okay, minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to provide public comment this morning? Okay, so we will move on to our merit commission.
Oh, this is quick. Anyway, we had 8 oral interviews for lateral transfers to patrol this past Monday. All passed. 1 lateral transfer for corrections. A very good candidate. He passed. We'll be testing again for corrections March 7th. Seems we're testing every 3 months because we just can't get the applicants. Actually, we're in our almost Monday will be our 3rd week of advertising for the position. We have 0 applications received as of today. So other than that, unless you have questions, we're good to go.
Okay, any questions for our merit commission? Okay, thank you for your report. Okay, next item on our agenda is our KingCom.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are on file. I do have a couple of slides to share this morning. I had hoped to bring our 2021 annual report to the meeting today, but our January activity and some staffing we'll push that until next month. So I do have just some quick slides that Blair will put up just to talk about the activity that we did have in January. Overall, the calls for service were down about 150, almost 200. However, the type of activity that we had kept our staff very, very busy. It's a type of activity that we train for, but we don't often encounter involving our fire agencies. The first one here, you may have heard on Friday, January 21st, Hampshire had an explosion at one of the businesses, a warehouse. And that kept our team quite busy for hours. That's not something I think we've ever really encountered in King County, at least in our dispatch experience. So that when we have these type of incidents, we make sure that we review and after action, did everything go the way it was supposed to go? Looking at the configuration in our computer-aided dispatch system to make sure that they get the type of response that they expect to get, that we've met all type of training standards. So that does take many hours of review to put together, as well as meeting with fire agencies. In addition, let's see here. Okay. Okay. There we go. In addition, on the 26th, Pingree Grove Fire Protection District had an activated fire alarm on Bell Road. And when they arrived, this is what the scene turned into. By the time that fire alarm from when we received the call to when crews went on scene, they already had flames showing. This fire quickly upgraded to a box level, which means you have a lot of units responding. It's called a MABUS box level, mutual aid box alarm system. They pull a lot of resources from all their neighboring agencies. And this fire went on for 6 to 7 hours. And it was frigid cold that day. You can see some of the challenges they faced with even their hose equipment there. I did borrow these photos from their social media pages from crews that were on scene that day. But it took a lot of resources, which in turn takes a lot of our resources. And in addition to these 2 fires, KingCom agencies also responded to downtown St. Charles. There was a fire handled by Tricon Dispatch in downtown St. Charles, as well as the Bartlett fire most recently. So these type of incidents take a lot of review and kept us busy in January. In addition to that, we are in the hiring process for the telecommunicator position as well as our operations manager position. Deputy Director Stofa and I will be interviewing for those in the next couple weeks. And then we do have 2 telecommunicators in training, and we hope to have them released from the training process within the next month or so. And that is all I have this morning.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Any comments or questions regarding our KingCom report?
Gums with a comment.
Ms. Gums, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank the KingCom Center and their staff. I know those incidents are extremely difficult and challenging to handle, but they're the ones that are coordinating all those agencies, and I think they need a shout out from us for, again, doing a fantastic job with circumstances they probably don't normally handle. So thank you very much. Excellent job.
Thank you.
So thank you,
Shepro.
Mr. Shepro. Mr. Shepard, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
guess I was really going to probably say the same thing Michelle said, which is, I think a lot of people think once the initial call comes in and is responded to, that's it. But I would just presume that you're going to be the agency that sends out the MABUS level alarms and monitors who's coming and who's not and so forth.
Thank you. Yes, in this situation, because this was MABUS Division 2 for Pingree, that went to Quadcom Dispatch, who is the MABUS Division 2 Dispatch Center. However, we continue to work with those agencies on our primary fire radio channel and relay as necessary. The day that this fire took place for Pingree, there was also a very large-scale incident going up in Antioch that went what they call interdivisional. So they had resources coming from everywhere. And that main IFRN channel that they would use for that communication was extremely busy. So we stayed off of there and we used a local channel, which required our dispatchers to relay some information and remain as the primary contact. Also, when these incidents are going on, like the phones don't stop ringing. So we're still handling other activity, police activity, other ambulance calls, and other requests. Thank you.
And Shepro, usually also, if the primary agency is responding, oftentimes another agency under the MABUS agreements will then come and fill their station so that they still have a crew available for a call. And that can be a multiple domino effect where everybody's shuffling their pieces around the chessboard.
Correct.
So thank you for those are, I think, high stress situations, no matter what the basic facts.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shepard. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Okay, we'll move on to our sheriff's report. Good morning.
Good morning. I also echo that KingCom rocks, and they save us on a daily basis, that's for sure. So I saved you from a PowerPoint the last few months, but I can't save you today. I am proud to announce that we do have our 2021 annual report out now. You can find that at canesheriff.com on the front page of our site. I'll also be emailing it out to all you guys, but I just want to take a moment today to highlight a few things from the last year. 3 years in a row now as your sheriff, we've come in well under budget. And I remember about a month after I became sheriff in 2019, January 2019, I had to pass a almost $400,000 budget adjustment because the sheriff's office was about $400,000 over budget at the time. So it is a monstrous operation and a lot to keep track of when it comes to finances, but I'm proud of our team and that we are able to pull under each time. And I know everybody in the room is noticing that there's 3 guys in here that are wearing uniforms of some variation. If you guys want to stand up real quick, this is our Special Investigations Unit. Sergeant Ryan Monahan on the right is the supervisor of that team. You have Detective Aldo Alba and Detective Luke Weston standing next to him from right to left. So these are their stats. You can also find this, of course, in the annual report. But this group right here is on a daily basis doing some of the most intense and dangerous work in the sheriff's office. So they're spread across 3 main jobs, and we don't have Detective Ryan Wasson with us today because he is in New Jersey working a case that started here and took him there. He is tasked out to our Homeland Security Investigations group, obviously tied to a federal task force. So that is what affords him to travel around the country and bring these very high level cases home. You have Detective Alba, who is assigned to the U.S. Marshals Service. And of course, he's going after some of the worst fugitives in Kane County and the surrounding area. And it's pretty profound arrest numbers when you think about the amount of work that it takes to track these fugitives down. 97 arrests with the marshals in 2021 and 74 arrests on fugitives on his own. And then you have Detective Weston, who's focused on interstate interdiction. So that's everything from what's flowing in and through our area from the city and all points west, and some hotel motel work, and rooting out the drugs and firearms that are brought through our area. So I just wanted to highlight these guys and bring them in. You guys know I like to show off our team from time to time, and it's really important to recognize these folks. And I know they're all anxious to get back to work. So when I'm done with this, you guys can take off. You can have a seat too, if you'd like, if you're able to sit. I know how anxious you are. We have stats on electronic monitoring, 243 clients in 2021. Hey, that's a great number. These are all people that we've been able to keep out of our jail. And of course, remember, we always plug in our diversion team to work alongside of our electronic monitoring team to make sure that these people are offered employment, continued addiction counseling should they need it. Obviously, we're very proud of our EM program. Our social workers have been working incredibly hard to this date. We're down to one social worker right now. We're looking to hire a second one. You can just see the number of caseloads per month is growing and growing. And we do talk a lot about our jail programs in here. And so it was important for us to look back over the last 3 years and talk about exactly what we've done to prove this system that we set out to prove 3 years ago. You can see the daily population in our jail has dropped by about 25%. When I took over as sheriff, we were hovering on 525 average daily population, and now we're just under 400. We actually have 325 in custody as of today, so that keeps going down. You see our recidivism in that bottom graph keeps plummeting as well. That's 49% average overall over the last 6 years. We brought that down to 18% in 2021. Because of the electronic monitoring program, the drop in the jail population, and people not returning to custody, also the sheriff's office running the electronic monitoring program, again, we're figuring that cost when it was under court services was about $750,000, and we're able to do that with our existing staff. So considering all of those points, we are estimating that we have saved the county about $4.9 million over the last 3 years just on the custodial side. Then we talk about safety in the jail. We've kept our use of force and detainee fights down by 35% across the board, so we have a safer working environment. And if we have a safer working environment, we don't have work comp claims. So work comp claims are down about 40%. We were able to produce a zero stat in overdose deaths of those returning to the population from our corrections center through our Lighthouse Recovery Pod and other programs. It was interesting to find out when looking at the coroner's report, there were about a dozen people that had passed through the Kane County Jail that overdosed and died in 2021. They were with us for less than 7 days. So we wouldn't really have an opportunity to give them any sort of treatment. We have now created a dragnet where anybody who comes into custody, if they pass through our booking area, if they come through bond call, our corrections officers are notifying Lighthouse Recovery counselors and providing them with that person's contact information if they're charged with some sort of drug-related crime. And then Lighthouse is able to track that person and offer them services. So we're hoping that we see a zero stat on that next year still. So people may think, okay, recidivism is down, people are coming back to jail. You're letting people out on electronic monitoring. Crime must be going up. Well, crime is actually down 16% across the county. So we're incredibly proud to report all of these stats on general public safety throughout our area. And of course, check out our 2022 goals. If you look at our report, there's still a lot more work to get done this year and maintain that status of cost savings and returning people to the community with opportunities and no chance to recidivize. That is our primary mission. So That said, if nobody has any questions or comments about the overview of the annual report, we can go to our two resolutions.
Any questions or comments for the sheriff?
Yeah, Sheriff Shepro, I always have a question, I guess. Do you have a theory as to why the recidivism rate has plummeted so impressively?
I do. We have a very robust diversion team that works on placing people in jobs. And our primary theory when we started this out 3 years ago is giving folks opportunity that they never realized existed keeps them from reoffending. So if you're giving them employment, if you're giving them continued addiction counseling when they leave, we also have a case manager who literally makes about 1,000 phone calls a month to stay in contact with returning detainees to make sure that they are still on the right path and they do not need any additional services. So that whole combination is what we believe is driving down people's return to custody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Okay, you want to move on and introduce your first resolution, Sheriff?
Sure. This one is going to be the rollover of 7 maintenance workers from building management to the sheriff's budget. This will be solely for the employees in the correction center.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
So
Davis
moved.
moves.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Gums and a second by Mr. Davis. And this resolution went through administration committee yesterday. A lot of us were present to hear that, but did you want to provide a little bit more information? or-
Certainly. Historically, we're talking early to mid 2000s. The sheriff's office did hold these personnel under their budget and oversight. Somewhere in the late 2000s, they moved them over to building management because they're segregated with a different employer on the county side. It makes it very difficult for security purposes and operational purposes at the sheriff's office to, number one, retain these folks, and number two, make sure the work is getting done that needs to get done. So this is just an exercise to move them back under our budget. And this is strictly just for the personnel salaries and benefits. It's not any commodities or capital at this time from building management.
Question, Shepro?
Mr. Shepro, go ahead.
Yeah, Sheriff, I believe when this was originally introduced, a comment was made, as you just said, that capital and commodities were not being transferred now. But my impression is that the logic of the transfer would suggest that that transfer would follow at some future date. I just wondered if you could comment about that.
Yeah, we wanted to step into this slowly. We have to get our heads wrapped around exactly what maintenance looks like in the jail. We were learning that there wasn't even a maintenance plan in place for a regular schedule of air filter changes and water softener salt. You go on down the list, light bulbs. So we want to get our heads wrapped around exactly what maintenance operations looks like. And then if we decide that invoicing building management for the capital items is not effective, or there seems to be some sort of communication breakdown, then we would present another resolution to move over capital.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments?
Davis,
Mr. Davis, go ahead.
you know, as a kid in school, I always had my suspicions about the janitors actually being authority figures. Now I know.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Sheriff Hayne, for taking this on. I know it's been a project and it's going to be a lot to handle, but again, thank you for your leadership on taking this. I think it's important that we maintain this under your jurisdiction. Okay, any,
Ms. Molina, this is Tom Copey.
Mr. Kobe, go ahead, welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate the opportunity. Mr. Hayne, I was at a town hall meeting last night, and I don't mean to interrupt this meeting, your committee meeting, ma'am, but I just wanted to make it public that I was at a town hall meeting last night, and there was a huge concern about an unincorporated area between Gilbert's and Elgin, between Randall Road and Terrell Road on Mason Road. And apparently it's become a a rave for drag racing, and the kids are doing these bomb drag races and actually raising a lot of cane. In fact, there's evidence or the testimony that they're actually hauling the machines in on trailers to race them. So I was curious if you could dispatch some sheriff help up there to monitor that situation and determine what the facts of the matter are, so that we can establish some answers for these people in that respect. And don't take this part as a criticism, please. The idea of saving money is always a good idea, but I am receiving complaints in my district about the police presence and or lack thereof, and this is one of them. And if we're saving money at the expense of service, that's not probably what our intentions are or expectations are.
Madam Chair, Tom, excuse me, Shepro.
Yeah.
Can I
Mr.
raise
Shepro.
I just wanted to raise a friendly point of order that perhaps, Tom, this discussion should take place after we take care of the resolution that's on the floor, which doesn't really relate to the issue that you're bringing up.
Oh,
Yes, Mr.
okay.
Kobe.
I'm
Unless
very
you have
sorry.
it's okay.
I
Unless
didn't
you have a
realize
question
that we were in
regarding
the
this
midst of it.
particular resolution, I'm going to ask you to please hold off on your comments and questions. Okay?
Oh, no problem. I digress. I'm sorry. I didn't realize we're in the midst of a resolution discussion.
That's okay. I didn't know if you were going to get to something related to the resolution. Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
that's okay. Okay, so no other further comments or questions regarding this resolution. If I can take a roll call, please.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Leonard, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro,
Shepro, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes, and this resolution will move on to our Finance Committee later this month. Mr. Kobe, did you have another comment or question for the sheriff? I'll let you continue.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm so sorry about the interruption. And sometimes I feel obtrusive if I enter into a committee that I am not a member of, but that's so be it. I can't help that, but I do appreciate the opportunity. I'm speaking on behalf of the constituency up there in the Gilberts area in regards to that situation on Mason Road specifically, and to enhance our police presence up there. That's basically the crux of the matter, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kobe, for being here. Mr. Sheriff, did you want to respond, or did you want
Yes,
to talk to him later?
please. So we will certainly look into the drag racing complaint. I've made a note of it here. I've a very aggressive patrol shift, I'll use that word, and they do not shy away from traffic enforcement of any kind. So I do have to ask you, do you know, is there any specific time of day this occurs, any day of the week that it occurs specifically? Mr. Kobe?
Mr. Kobe, I think we lost you, so I'm going to go ahead and ask.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. Yes, no, I do not have that information. We began a list of grievances on all sorts of issues, and a lot of it is pertaining to traffic. But I thought I'd bring up this point to you specifically, and we will be examining. And Cliff Sturgis, that is now his new district, so he sponsored the meeting actually, and it was a very the decorum was excellent, and he took a lot of notes. So we will try to compile some more notes as we speak to constituency, and perhaps we can zero in on a more detailed approach for you.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. And on the cost savings, so that is on the corrections side of our budget. On the public safety side, we're actually over budget there. So our work in jail reform has created the gigantic savings for our taxpayers. And of course, Mr. Copey, I am available 24/7, very easy to find. If you want any constituent to just reach out to me and give me a call, I'm incredibly accessible. CaneSheriff.com, just click on the sheriff link. My phone number, my email is there. And I'd love to get invited to a town hall meeting to address any concerns folks have. Traffic is usually number one on everybody's list.
We'd love to see you. Thank you. Thank you for that offer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Copey. We're going to move on to our agenda. Sheriff Hayne has a second resolution he'd like to introduce.
This one's relatively simple. It's the one-year extension of our agreement with Aramark, our food and commissary provider in the Kane County Corrections Center.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve?
Brown move.
Mr. Brown moves.
Sanchez
Comes a
seconds.
second.
Mr. Sanchez seconds. Okay, any comments or questions regarding this resolution? Okay, pretty straightforward. This is just an extension. Okay, roll call, please.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Comes, yes.
Leonard, Sanchez,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Shepro,
Shepro, yes.
Davis,
Canvas, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes and this resolution will move on to our executive committee.
Madam Chairman, Shepro.
Mr. Shepro, go ahead.
Yeah, I had another matter that I wanted to bring to the attention of the sheriff and the committee briefly.
Go ahead, Mr. Shepro.
The last week, I received a telephone call from the police chief in Wayne. And as you know, the sheriff is assisting the village with calls on the midnight shift pursuant to an agreement. He said, gives me a heads up that the village board was intending to ask for a 6-month extension of that agreement, or I think he actually said through the end of the year, because they are concerned that they are not going to be able to hire the additional personnel that they're looking at. And he also said that they are at least examining the possibility of asking the 2 county sheriffs to take over. He just wanted me to be aware of that. I thought the committee should be aware of that. And I guess I wondered, Sheriff, if you have had any approach from them to that end that you could share with us if there's anything developing.
Yeah, I get a call about once a month from the chief of Wayne, and he reports one of 2 ways, just like you said. They may go away, they may stay. Sheriff Mendrick in DuPage County and I are on the exact same page that as sheriffs, our patrol has to be there, whether, if they're there, we'll be there to back them up. If they're not there, we're going to be there, and we're obligated to do that by statute. So we are taking a very reactionary position because we do not want to insert ourselves in this conversation and flip it either way, other than to say, just keep us posted and let us know what you need covered.
And that sounds like you'd be willing to come to a town meeting to discuss it?
I don't know about the Wayne Town meeting. Any other one.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shepro. Any other comments or questions for our sheriff this morning? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to our agenda to our state's attorney.
Good morning. We are still in the process of compiling our end of year report. We're hoping to be able to present that all to you next month. I can say that having just starting to go through the numbers, we are seeing the same trends that we had seen before. In general, crime is down, but there are certain cases that continue to go up. And those are our domestic violence cases, our DUI cases, our abuse and neglect cases. So again, a big thank you from the court system to all of you for recognizing that and giving us additional staff to be able to help with those cases. Our domestic violence cases and our abuse and neglect cases are the ones that have the victims that we need to be able to be there for to help them become survivors. And that's what we continue to do in partnership with the Sheriff's Department so that we can help as much as we can. Our monthly report is on file, so unless there's any other questions for me, we do have one resolution.
Okay, any questions for our state's attorney? Okay, go ahead and introduce your resolution.
Thank you. This is just asking to roll over some of the excess funds that we had at the end of the year from last year. As you do know, we were able to come in under budget for the first year in my term. Part of what we are envisioning, though, is things that we were not able to do last year, we really need to be able to do this year. And so this is going to be expenses that are related to legal services and trials and the cost of hearings. There was a shutdown time period that we are all aware of, that we were not able to do the hearings, the trials, the way that we had done in years past. We expect that to increase. If the numbers continue to go down, we're going to see the opening up of everything, including our restaurants, but we're going to see that in the court system, which also means that we are going to have more trials, we are going to have more hearings, we are going to see more investigations. So trying to be fiscally prudent, we're just asking that the savings that we had last year just roll over in our budget because we do expect to use them this year.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Sanchez moves.
Davis seconds.
All right, motion made by Mr. Sanchez and second by Mr. Brown. Any comments or questions? Ms. Mosser, I'm sorry, what's the appropriation amount? I think it was like 28,000.
I believe so. Is it, Blair, would you be able to scroll down? I think it's on there.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Comes, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Shepro,
Shepro, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Alina, yes, and this will move on to our finance committee.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for us?
Nothing else for us.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our public defender.
Thank you. Good morning. Our monthly report is on file, so I'm happy to answer any questions as to that. I did have a resolution for this month, which I am now not asking to put to a vote, but would like to discuss that this morning.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and introduce the resolution and we'll just go into discussion?
Yes. So the resolution is to increase salaries of assistant public defenders in comparison to salaries of assistant state's attorneys.
So this was something we've been discussing over the last few months in our committee. Mr. Leonard last month had asked that this be brought up as a resolution. We're working with our finance department to make sure that all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But I think as a committee, I don't know, we won't need consensus because we'll bring this up next month, but I think as a committee, this is something that we were all in favor of. And we just want to make sure financially that we have everything done correctly. Any questions regarding this particular idea or notion that our public defenders should be paid the same amount? If you do have any comments or questions, we can talk about it now, or we can bring it up next month during when we expect to bring this resolution up for a vote.
Sanchez.
Mr. Sanchez?
I just wanted to say, I think this is a good idea. We absolutely should be paying them at least somewhat similar to what our state's attorneys are getting because they're doing such similar work in caseloads. Is it not on?
I can hear you, but I don't know if anybody else
Oh.
can hear you.
Yeah, we could hear.
Okay. I can get closer. But yeah, it's a good thing. So I support it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Shepro,
Mr. Shepro, go ahead.
I would concur in the chair's comments and Mr. Sanchez's comments. I think this is a much needed step to increase the fairness in the system.
Okay, thank you. And I'd just like to add, I know our finance department is worried, as they should be, but I think as a whole, we need to start making decisions on where we feel our budget should be spent. And this is an item I'm strongly in favor of. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So I can explain how I got to the number that I got to, or I can table that for next month.
Did you, Mr. Shepro?
Well, I'm just going to say next month might be better when you've finalized the finances.
Yeah, we'll table to the next one. The resolution is already in the file, so we have an amount. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to you in the next 25 days or so too. But okay, I think we're good with this.
Thank you.
Can I just make one quick comment? Chair.
Yes, Judge Hall, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what, and I will wait for to go into greater detail next month, but I would encourage anybody that has any questions, not only to reach out to Ms. Conant, but also myself. Ms. Conant, Ms. Masser, and myself have been working on this with Ms. Conant, and the entire group of us believe that this is needed and appropriate. And I would be happy to discuss. I know that you have a lot of different committees. I know you have a lot of different work, and I know that money is, you have to prudently spend that, but our belief is, and if anybody wants to talk about it, I would love to be able to sit down and make that argument to explain why we think this is so important. And I would greatly appreciate the work that Ms. Conant has done to really try to look at the salaries of both offices and to try to ask for only what is really necessary to be able to do that. This is not a situation where at one point she started and the number was much higher, but as she's continued to work within her budget and to continue to look at the salaries, she's got it at a number that is much lower than when it started. And again, I appreciate what she's done in that and would just love to talk about it if anybody has any questions, including, other county board members who are not on this committee that you may be talking to that might have questions because they're not as knowledgeable as you guys are. But I would welcome that opportunity, as I know Ms. Masser would and Ms. Conant would.
Thank you. Okay.
Davis with a quick comment.
Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Yeah, just Chief Judge will remember this well. Many of you will, that this is not new, this topic. If we harken back just a little ways to Ms. Childress being in front of us, she came to us many times with presentations explaining in great detail a lot of this information. So this has been going on for a while, and it's been badly needed for quite some time, but I'm glad everybody's still working on it.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And I think that's our main point, at least my main point as chairing this committee, is that a lot of these requests and concerns have been brought forth our committee for the last decade or so, and they've kind of just stopped. So as a member of this committee, as a chair of this committee, it is my goal that they don't stop here, that we make decisions and as county board members decide whether or not you consider this an important topic and something that we need to fund, or you don't. But I think we need to start taking real action and voting whether or not we consider this important or not. So I will respect the finance director's position at this time and wait for 30 days, but I know we are going to discuss this next month. Okay. So we're going to move on to our judiciary and courts. Judge Hall, good morning. Ben?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. I don't have a lot to report. The only thing I do want to continue to keep everybody on focus on is, again, the Safety Act or Pretrial Fairness Act is about 10 months away from implementation. Has a lot of different names, but what it does talk about for the court system is the fact that Illinois will be one of the few states in the entire country that will have a cashless bail system. So when someone's arrested, the judge will be required, along with the state's attorney, to decide whether or not the person will either be detained or released, and there's no cash bail. We've talked a little bit, or not a little bit, we've talked a lot about what that's going to do to our system here in the 16th Circuit, and every circuit across the state's having the same conversations. We're meeting as collectively once every 2 weeks, and then working between those meetings on how many cases are going to be impacted, how that's going to impact the sheriff, the public defender, the state's attorney, and the court system. So I just want to keep you in the loop on it. One of the things as we move forward, and I know you've already started to discuss the next budgeting cycle, is we do anticipate that as a result of the new legislation, there will be costs that the state is not going to pay for. I've heard, again, talk about unfunded mandates. I think that this could be something that might go along with that. There are going to be responsibilities that we have that are not going to be paid for by the state, and I don't mean just us, but statewide. We're trying to get that in front of the legislators to see if they will recognize and be willing to fund some of that. But initially, the costs are going to be borne by the King County, and by the taxpayers. And so I just want to keep that front and center. Most importantly, as we look at it right now, it looks like, based upon the numbers that we have one courtroom right now, 005, that we use for two purposes. One, we use it for bond call. And then in the afternoon, we use it for orders of protection. Based upon our initial projections, we think that we're going to need to have that one courtroom designated for detention, pretrial detention hearings the entire day, which would mean then we would need another location to put our orders of protection. There is a multi-purpose room downstairs. That's what we're looking to turn into a second courtroom. But we would like some guidance, and I'd be happy to talk to whomever you think as to what we need to do to get that started, because we would need to have that built out and ready to go by January of 2023. I'm not sure with the architecture and the county board structure, whether we should be, I believe Ms. Masser had originally started to work with Cordigan and Clark. We have talked to Jason Dwyer from White and Company, but we're just looking for direction as to who the county board would like us to work with and how we move this forward.
Thank you, Judge Hall. I know Mr. Caius is on the line. He's a chair of administration. So I think maybe the two of us and you can work together to figure out how to start planning that.
Okay, great.
And then the second thing I had regarding your report was just questions regarding legislation. Is there anything, do we have anybody right now that we're looking as an organization to help sponsor any legislation that provides some type of funding for the Safety Act? Anything that we can do on our part to kind of advocate for that?
I appreciate you asking. Right now, there is a trailer bill. I mean, that, as we all know, the state attorney's office has their association, the PD has theirs, the Conference of Chief Judges have ours, and that's through the Illinois Supreme Court. There are a number of different agencies that are all proponents of trying to and lobbying the legislature right now and talking with their individual legislators to try to get that those funding sources at least identified or needs identified. If there's anything that comes to our attention, I know we have great relationships with our local legislators. They've been supportive, and we will certainly let you know. But right now, there's just, and Ms. Masser, if you have any additional information, or Ms. Conant, but I know that there has been a trailer bill that has been, has a house number, and that they're currently working on the content of that right now.
Okay. Do you guys know the house number? Does anybody know the house number for that trailer bill? And our legislative committee will meet next week, and Mrs. Gums is chairing that. So that might be something that we can kind of keep track of. It's going to be a short session, but let's make it as effective as possible for us.
It is House Bill 5537.
Okay, so everybody write that down, keep track of it and the legislation. And I hope Ms. Gums and Ms. Stratman are able to maybe discuss this next week. And I can work with Ms. Gums if you have any questions on that, Ms. Gums.
Thank you. I've got it written down.
And they have been very receptive. I mean, I will say, and I do want to say that we appreciate the fact that the legislators have listened. That every association has really done a fantastic job of trying to point out, number one, where some areas of concern are, and two, the ways that they could address those. Funding is one of those. And so, you know, our hope is that we continue to work on that the legislature will provide funding so that it won't all fall to the counties.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments regarding?
Shepro?
Mr. Shepro, go ahead.
Yeah, I have zero confidence that there will be any money forthcoming, but I understand that there may be efforts to defer or eliminate some of the changes which I understand the judges and the state's attorneys and so forth have suggested maybe should be revisited. And I wondered if I guess I could read the bill, but you know, quite often in Springfield, you really don't know what's in the bill till the last day they vote on it. I just wondered if there are any realistic possibilities of any of the mandates being reversed or eliminated, because I recall, for example, the judge talked about having the courtroom set aside for these detention hearings. I seem to recall that would require a significant revamp of the intake procedures in the state's attorney's office, where you used to have a junior lawyer reviewing something, and now you're going to have an experienced prosecutor in that courtroom.
So, Mr. Shepro, you have a great memory, and you're hitting on some issues that you know, what we have done is, and I say we, the criminal justice system and everybody have identified those different areas. As you've said, all I have been told and all we've been told collectively is that they are in discussions. All of our agencies have put forth our concerns and our recommendations, and we're just hoping that we're heard. Again, they have been receptive in listening to us, so the hope is that they will. But just one example is that the pretrial detention hearings require in-person, a provision right now requires in-person detention hearings to be held, whereas there's a part of the statute that says that they can be done remotely. So there's a conflict within the statute itself. So they're trying to clean up things like that. But also the impact on Kane County right now, we use remote for bond call in many situations. If we're not unable to do that, the sheriff has again agreed that it won't be an issue and that they'll figure out a way to make it work, but it'll just change what we do dramatically.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody keep track of House Bill 5537. Send comments or questions to Ms. Gums and Ms. Strathman for next week. But like everything else that happens in the state legislature, sometimes it's a good idea and it's a great idea and it works, but at the end, we're the ones holding the bag financially. So we have to make sure that good ideas get good funding attached to them so that our taxpayer isn't end up holding the bag. All right, so we will move on to our page. You have a resolution? Oh, sorry, Court Services. Ms. Ost, good morning.
Good morning. So the housing report is attached this month, and I just want to give a little foreshadowing to the county that we'll probably be bringing in slightly more revenue to our juvenile detention facility. I talked last.
Microphone?
I'll speak more into it. Is that better, or do I need a new microphone?
Sometimes
That's
you
a
gotta
little
get right
better.
on it.
Is that
Keep trying.
I think that's broken.
Hi, is that better? That's better. So I just wanted to give a little foreshadowing. Last month, I talked about how everyone's having staffing issues and we're all having a hard time filling positions. And so my staff and I got together and we brainstormed really hard, what can we do? And as we all know, or the sheriff remembers, I mean, just as little as 4 or 5 years ago, we were regularly getting 40, 50 applicants for every one open position. And so we went back to those lists. So we may have only had 2 or 3 open positions, but we had 30 or 40 applicants. And so someone may not have made the cut back then simply because of a lack of openings, but they're perfectly qualified. And so we've been cold calling a lot of those people saying, hey, are you still interested in coming to work for us? And in fact, I'll share a heartwarming story. One of my assistants was calling someone and she had recently moved to her parents' house in Indiana. Her house had just burnt down here and she was unemployed. She didn't have a computer and we cold called her because her cell phone number is the same and she's crying and she's excited and she's so grateful and so happy, and she applied and she was a wonderful candidate. We had a wonderful interview with her just yesterday. So happy that we reached out and found her. So we've been focusing hard on being creative and beating the bushes and trying to find good qualified applicants. Having said that, so our detention facility is one of the better staffed facilities in the state right now. So there are other facilities that are having to close whole wings just because they don't have the staffing to keep them up and operating, which is why we're going to see a little bit of a revenue surplus, especially under the category of out of county or not currently do we have intergovernmental agreements with them, because these are other counties that are bringing their kids to us because they can't find other facilities to take their kids. So it's good and it's bad. Means we have a lot more kids now than we've had in the recent past, but we do have the staffing to handle it and we are bringing in the revenue for that. But well, a little foreshadowing. So we are looking at new washers and dryers for that facility. They're getting used a lot and they're original to when the building opened 20 plus years ago. So, a little plus and minus, but I'll come back to you with that. Having said all that, I do have a resolution in front of you that is to extend our treatment contracts for our drug court. These are teams that provide services to our drug court participants for outpatient treatment.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Brown moves.
Mr. Brown moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Mr. Sanchez seconds. Okay, did you want to provide any further? Does anybody need any further information regarding this?
Just a note that this has already been budgeted for. We already have the budget for it. We use the grant funds that we've received to pay for this, as well as supplementing that with probation fees. So there's no impact whatsoever on the general fund.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no further comments or questions, may I please have roll call?
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Comes, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro. Shepro. Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Okay, thank you. This is passed, and I believe it'll go on to finance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is our circuit clerk.
Good morning, everyone. My monthly report is in the file, so if anybody has any questions, please ask. I do have 2 resolutions on the agenda today. I'm not sure which one, because I don't have my computer with me, is up first. I would just like to take,
The rollover of funds is first.
This is the rollover funds for the training, the
the
28,000.
training. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are funds that we did not get to, the staff did not get to attend due to COVID for training and various reasons. And I'm asking that those funds be rolled over to this year so that we can send staff to adequate training. I would like to point out that last year we did save the county $500,000 on our budget. So this is, I believe, 28,823, and I'm asking for that to be rolled over to this year's budget for training.
Okay, and as part of this resolution, the finance department did add some comments on kind of where the money should be going to. So the amended version will be sent over to finance if passed. So first I'll get a motion and a second to discuss this resolution.
Sanchez moves.
Mr. Sanchez moves,
Brown
Mr. Brown
seconds.
seconds. Okay, any comments or questions? All right, so I'll ask for a motion. I'll ask for a motion to approve. And again, this would be with the amended budget adjustment that finance has sent over. Okay, roll call.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Gums,
Comes, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro,
Shepro, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Passes.
Okay, this will move on to our finance committee. And Ms. Burrow, you have a second resolution. Did you want to talk about that one?
I do. I'm going to pull it due to further discussion from the Director of Finance that sent out an email last night that I was not aware of. I would like to discuss that further, but what this resolution actually does is it rolls over a portion of that $500,000 in order for us to hire more staff. And we will, one thing I like to point out, because I've been thinking about this all night ever since I got that little phone call. The civil clerk's office, we are really busy, and I don't think the rest of the county kind of understands that. I know the judicial partners understand that, but I don't believe the general public understands it. We prepare and deliver all the reports and files throughout the county. Every one of these judicial partners has needs that come through our office. We have clerks that go to all the courtrooms. We are down clerks because of low pay. We lose clerks to other positions throughout the county. I know it was discussed earlier, the disparity between the public defender's office and the state's attorney's office. But I think the county board really also needs to look at the disparity between the clerks in the circuit clerk's office and the rest of the clerical staff throughout the county. Our clerks are paid $10,000 to $15,000 less a year to sit in a courtroom, maintain records that is essentially people's lives. And with the new legislation that's going through with the Safety Act, we will need another courtroom, which means we need another clerk. And we've done exactly the same thing Ms. Oust did. We are cold calling old applicants because we're seeing possibly, I believe the Human Services meetings said that we had 9 applicants. Out of those 9, you might be able to call 3, unfortunately. So, and then once they see that they're only $15 an hour jobs, they're not interested. So this is a huge disparity in Kane County. And I feel that it doesn't really take a salary survey to understand it. If you just look at where our staff goes and what they are getting paid for where they came from. You can go to White Castle and make more money than you could at the circuit clerk's office. This is something that I think the county board really needs to look at. I know that the county board has raised salaries throughout other offices throughout the county. And we are generally not a revenue department, but we do collect revenue for the rest of the county, and we get a small portion of that. I'm also looking at legislation similar to what the chief judge discussed with local legislators to try and secure funds just for the circuit clerk's office through legislation. They do, the legislation gives us a portion of what we can collect for the county. But then once it gets all divided up amongst all the offices, the county clerk's office usually is the last on the list to get their share. So therefore, the county clerk's office, if we went by our budget completely, we would be right. If we had a full staff, we'd probably be right there, 0 at the end of the year. We wouldn't have $1 million to give back at the end of the year. So this is just something that I think the county board really needs to address. I'll pull this resolution due to all the comments that Mr. Onzik sent out last night, which he did not telephone me on, and I would have appreciated a phone call. And we could discuss further, but the circuit clerk's office needs funds. That's all I can say. We gave back $590,000 last year, back to the county.
Okay, I think we're in agreement with you, Ms. Pereira. We've sat here for the last 12 months and listened to your concerns and the fact that you haven't been able to hire people. And that money that was budgeted prior, you didn't use, and you gave it back to the general fund. So I think I just asked for maybe a little bit more time. Let's work with Mr. Onzik to see how we can get everything corrected, just like with our public defender, and bring this back up for action next month. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Ms. Burr? Okay. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Brown speaking. I don't know what comment to make because we've all made the same comments over and over again. And I don't know what the answer is, but somehow or another, we need to put our heads together and figure out what that answer is.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's actively reach out to Mr. Onzik this week and get this taken care of and brought up to a vote. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the county board to decide where they want to allocate funding to. And let's figure out where everybody stands. Okay, we're going to move on to our coroner report.
Yes,
Coroner
hello,
Russell?
can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Yes, wanted to say my report's on file. Crime may be down, but death isn't. We are way up from where we were last year at this time. We're up about 150 deaths from January 21 to January 22. Now, some of those are COVID, a lot of those are naturals. What we are seeing is, a lot of people are passing away from natural type death because, at least in my opinion, because they're not getting proper medical care because they can't get to the doctor. So obviously there's been an accordion effect, with, another effect of the pandemic. Nobody's fault, just, that's what it is. So, yeah, that's all I have. I'll have more next month. I'm actually on my way to perform a duty for the office right now. So I've been out working. Everybody's been out working. So yeah, we are inundated, but we're hanging tough, and we're getting the job done. So thank you. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Comment, Shepro.
Thank you, Coroner Russell.
Yes.
Mr. Shepro, go ahead.
I was going to say, Coroner, at least your recidivism rate is 0.
Well, it seems to have increased, as far as, occupancy.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
Brown speaking, just to back up what the coroner just said for the public that may be listening or watching, I'm not sure. But year over year, the numbers say that on suicide last year in January, there were 3. This year, there were 4. Overdoses last year, there were 12. This year, there's 36. And then the COVID deaths, as the coroner just talked about, last year, there were 91. This year, there's 158. So you can kind of see what's going on.
Thank you. And that's a subject that we've briefly touched upon here on our committee, is the opioid issue in King County. And I know we have a lot on our plate, but I think it's something that if maybe in the future, Coroner Russell and our sheriff maybe can come together, maybe do some type of discussion just for our residents, just to discuss what this issue is and how we can help avoid it. But I guess we'll leave that.
Actually, on May 4th, we're doing a forum at the Arcada. It's being put together right now, so we're not full, but so we are addressing it, the sheriff and I believe Madam Chair will be there. So yeah, it's definitely on the forefront of our mind, and we're trying to do what we can do. And it's just right now we're just plugging holes. We're hoping to somehow figure out a way to, reverse this thing.
Okay, thank you, Coroner Russell. Please keep us updated on that date for the presentation. I know many of us would like to be present. Okay, any other comments or questions for our coroner?
Gums, I have one question.
Ms. Gums, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Russell, are the overdoses, are you able to tell us if they're bad? I hate to say the word bad drugs, but are they, laced, or are you seeing any of that here?
Absolutely. Fentanyl, one word, fentanyl.
Yep.
There's a lot of, people that are lacing it in the marijuana cigarettes, and they don't realize how strong this stuff is. It's very powerful. So that it's not the only thing, but there's other things, other substances. But I'd have to say, if somebody were to ask me what stands out, fentanyl.
Thank you for that answer. I don't know if you guys have ever had an opportunity to deal with an addict, but there's a show on TV called Euphoria, and season 2, episode 5 was on. I watched it, I don't know, last night or the night before, and having dealt with an addict in my family, it will hit you in the gut. And I encourage everybody who's not been familiar with what's happening in the opioid crisis to watch it, because it's so difficult to stop people from killing themselves unwillingly or otherwise. So it's a topic that I, think we have to take as an emergent situation, going back to some other committees. Anyways, thanks.
Comment, Shepro.
Thank you, Ms. Gums. Mr. Shepro?
Just to what Michelle said, my cousin's young teenage son bought some street marijuana that laced with fentanyl, and he died. So this is not just something you would find on a TV show. You find it everywhere.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions or comments for our coroner? Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. An item of new business I'd like to discuss is our ordinance amendment. I think we were talking over it during our county board meeting. The 2-48, there's a section there for judicial and public safety. I'm going to add it to our agenda next month. So if anybody wants to look it over, have any amendments they want to make or changes to that particular section. Mr. Shepherd-Rozan, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add. I know you were working originally with this.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. As I think I mentioned at maybe executive, the original amendment that I was asked to draft did not deal with this committee, and that kind of took off. And so anybody who is for or against it because they think I wrote it should, think about that for next month. I'm not sure that some of the changes are necessarily going in a good direction. The original idea was to clarify roles. I think there was one example, I think, where the Judicial Public Safety Committee's jurisdiction seemed to overlap with another committee. And those are certainly good changes. But, there are some concerns that I had about getting beyond the scope of those changes and, potentially targeting individuals, shall I say. So I think it does merit careful review, and thank you for bringing this back to our plate.
Okay, so I'll work with you and see how we can add it to the agenda. And if everybody wants to review our section of it, I know there's wording in the beginning that we're all kind of just rules of order that we can probably work on too, but we'll leave that for next month's discussion. Okay, anybody else have any new business they'd like to bring forward to the committee? Okay, so we will move on. I'd like to ask for consensus to place written reports on file.
I'll ask for consent.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, so we'll put reports on file. We have no need for executive session. So I will ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
Sanchez moves.
Brown seconds.
Okay, a motion made by Mr. Sanchez, second by Mr. Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you, everybody.